In his 1970 documentary short Changes, Pat Rocco introduces us to Jennifer Michaels. Following a rather intrusive interview about being trans, we see them walking down the street, interacting with a man, and enjoying a nice sunny day in the park. By the following year, they had met a lesbian named Linda, the sister of UCLA film student Penelope Spheris, who would direct Wayne's World 2 decades later. Spheris portrayed that relationship and the tensions with Linda's brother Andy in the groundbreaking documentary short I Don't Know. Its title is emblematic of Jennifer Michaels' gender identity.
When you do those films and the magazines, do you play a boy or a girl?
Both.
At the same time?
Mm-hmm. Well, some of them, they like to start out, as me as a girl. And then they like to shock everybody.
By what?
By exposing my true nature.
What is that true nature?
I don't know yet. I haven't figured it out.
The film is in black and white, but its subject is anything but. And that also applies to another trans portrait shot by a gay film student a few years earlier. One that was even deemed important enough to be preserved in the Library of Congress's National Film Registry. Today we would probably just say non-binary or gender fluid. But in the 1970s, those labels simply did not exist for people like Jennifer Michaels. Transsexual and transvestite were the words of choice, often used interchangeably, and the majority of cis straight people saw all of them just as homosexuals anyway, as demonstrated in the 1967 short documentary titled Queens at Heart.
Ladies and gentlemen, during our 6-month research project, we interviewed literally thousands of homosexuals. We ran the gamut from those who betrayed not the slightest trace of effeminate qualities to those like Vicky, who but for a quirk of fate had been born a woman.
It's trying to be sympathetic, but it mainly just comes across as exploitative.
What happens if you're wearing a very tight, slinky satin dress and you see somebody who appeals to you and your maleness becomes apparent? Do you ever have dates with men who don't know that you're a man? What happened when he found out you had a How many times must you go out with a boy before you let him kiss you? Did he ask you to do things which went against your principles and feelings? When did you finally go all out with a man? Were you passive or active in the relationship? Did you feel that he was responsible in measure for your turning into a complete homosexual? Do you wear a brassiere when you work?
Around the same time as Normie McChaser here checked the pants of thousands of homosexuals, several TV programs tried to solve this mystery as well.
Homosexual practices may not be approved of. Homosexual love cannot be denied.
Both CBS and the BBC aired reports in 1967 that claimed to educate their viewers about homosexuality, and the results were not pretty. The CBS special was even described by activist Wayne Besen as the single most destructive hour of anti-gay propaganda in US history.
Homosexuality is in fact a mental illness which has reached epidemiological proportions.
I'm not sick just sexually. I'm sick in a lot of ways. Immature, childlike.
The average homosexual, if there be such, is promiscuous. He is not interested in nor capable of a lasting relationship like that of a heterosexual marriage.
Most homosexuals dread getting old, dread losing their looks, fear in particular the final loneliness of living without a companion.
The fact that somebody is homosexual, a true obligatory homosexual, automatically rules out the possibility that he will remain happy for long.
Many lesbians, of course, aren't so aggressively masculine as Steve, and for them it's not so bad.
For many of us, this is revolting, men dancing with men.
These specials were made for mainstream audiences presumed to have never encountered any gay or trans people. And they can be useful artifacts that show younger generations how the general public perceived us. This kind of reporting was so pervasive that the 1970 documentary Gay San Francisco made fun of it.
They number 90,000 at least, according to police department figures. They move in all walks of life. Except for hairdressing and a few other occupations, their presence is unnoticed. They work to conceal their sexual orientation by day, and only at night do they show their true colors. Blondes are well liked. The one at this party was so busy all night, we never did get to ask if it's true that even here, gentlemen prefer blondes. But from his popularity, one might think that it's true.
But there's one documentary from 1967 that managed to portray its subject with genuine compassion and dignity. And it was made by gay film student Nikolai Elliot Ersen, born in 1942. Like Penelope Spheris, he went to UCLA, but also had a Bachelor of Arts from UC Berkeley and had studied film in Paris. After his master's degree, he primarily worked in the adult film industry under the name Nick Elliot. He directed a few movies, but mostly he worked as a cinematographer on some of the biggest classics of the era, including Kansas City Trucking Company, El Paso Wrecking Corporation, and The Idol, which is often named as one of the best gay porn movies ever made, directed by Ersen's fellow UCLA classmate Tom DeSimone. The sound credit on The Idol goes to Jason Sato, which was the pseudonym of another fellow classmate and Ersen's real-life partner, Norman Yonemoto. He's mostly known for the films and video installations that he made with his brother Bruce. Ersen was the cinematographer on several of those. But starting with 1973's Brothers, which starred Penelope Spheris in a non-sexual role. Ersen and Yonemoto also collaborated on several gay adult films. But Nikolai Ersen's first film is probably his biggest achievement. The 8-minute Behind Every Good Man shows one day in the life of an unknown black trans woman. Ersen tells the story mostly visually, and with the help of probably unlicensed Diane Warwick and Supreme songs. The short opens with a quick introduction in which our protagonist tells us that she wants to settle down with a man while she's out shopping and walking down the street. A hot guy her age starts to flirt with her, and the way it is shot makes it clear that the film is at least partially scripted. There's no way this could have been done with just one camera in one take. They both go out for coffee together and just have a nice time talking, until she has to run off to catch her bus. She doesn't make it. More than half of the runtime is dedicated to her getting ready for a date in the evening, presumably with the guy from the street, and waiting for him to arrive at her apartment, while her voiceover tells a personal, surprisingly uplifting story about encountering a cop in a gas station restroom. The guy never arrives, and the film ends with her still waiting, apparently being stood up, which is a bit of a bummer. But we saw the confidence in her earlier, we know she will not be beaten down by this experience. The ending is also not what I choose to remember from Behind Every Good Man. For me, the first half is pure movie magic, showing us a world in which a trans woman can walk down the street and the looks from men are admiring and friendly, at worst curious, but never hostile. And the guy flirting with her has no problem doing that in front of a friend. That is something we rarely see in today's political climate. And this was the 1960s. Nikolai Ersen was neither black nor, as far as we know, trans. But as a gay man, he knew that the woman at the center of his film deserved respect, and the best way to portray her was to just watch her, without any attempt at psychoanalyzing or labeling or sensationalism. The film never acts as if her gender identity is a problem that needs to be fixed. After seeing all those other 1967 documentaries and reports, that approach alone seems radical. We don't know the name of Behind Every Good Man's heroine, or what happened to Jennifer Michaels after Penelope Spheris' second film with them, 1972's Hats Off to Hollywood. Nikolai Ersen, like many fellow gay artists during the AIDS crisis, was taken from us way too early in 1990. But their legacy lives on. In 2022, Behind Every Good Man was selected for the National Film Registry, ensuring that the following generations will be able to watch it. We can't change how people in the past saw us, but we can decide which version of us survives. And it should not be the one defined by CBS and the BBC, but the one preserved in films like this. The stories we manage to tell about ourselves and our community. Thank you for watching. Check out the links in the video description and please like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.
You're a rather tall girl, aren't you?
Yes.
How tall would you say you are?
6 feet.
But you're one of the taller drag queens around.
But I'm one of the more beautiful ones too, darling.